Adam had always dreamt of escaping the noise and stress of the city. So when he finally got the chance, he booked a trip to a small, remote island in the middle of the ocean. The island was the perfect place to relax. It was untouched by the world, with only the sound of waves crashing against the shore and birds singing in the trees. Adam thought it would be the perfect getaway to clear his mind. He arrived on the island on a warm, sunny afternoon. The air was fresh, filled with the scent of salt water and pine trees. Adam set up camp by the beach, where he could see the endless horizon. His days were spent walking along the beach, swimming in the crystal-clear water, and enjoying the peace and quiet. One day, as Adam explored deeper into the island, he noticed something strange. There was a large piece of twisted metal half buried in the sand. It looked like some kind of wreckage, but it was nothing like any ship or plane Adam had ever seen. The metal was smooth, with strange markings he couldn't understand. His curiosity got the best of him, and he moved closer to investigate. As he approached, Adam heard a faint noise, a soft, almost unnoticeable breathing sound. It was coming from inside the wreckage. Adam's heart raced. Was someone trapped inside? He quickly moved closer, pushing away debris from the wrecked ship. The moment he cleared a space, he saw her. There, lying unconscious among the twisted metal and broken pieces, was an alien woman. Her skin shimmered in the sunlight, almost glowing. Her features were unlike anything Adam had ever seen. Her face was delicate, with high cheekbones and smooth skin that looked almost like it was made of fine crystal. Her eyes were closed, but when Adam got closer, he could see that they were a deep shade of purple, sparkling like the night sky. Adam was shocked, unsure of what to do. The woman didn't look like she was from Earth. Her clothes were strange, like a tight-fitting suit made of shiny material. He had no idea how she ended up on this island, but it was clear she needed help. He hesitated for a moment, but then decided he couldn't leave her there alone. With careful hands, he gently touched her shoulder, trying to wake her. When that didn't work, he checked for signs of life. Her heartbeat was faint, but it was there. He had to act fast. Adam knew he couldn't just leave her on the beach to die. Using all his strength, Adam managed to lift her and carry her to his campsite. He laid her down gently on his blanket and checked her over. Her wounds didn't seem too severe, just a few cuts and bruises from the crash. He decided to wait for her to wake up on her own, hoping she would be okay. Hours passed, and Adam grew more anxious. He kept his eyes on the woman, not wanting to leave her side. Finally, just as the sun began to set, she stirred. Her eyes fluttered open, and she looked up at him, confused and disoriented. "Where am I?" she asked, her voice soft and melodic. Adam froze. He had no idea what language she was speaking, but somehow he understood the meaning behind her words. There was a strange energy around her, something that made Adam feel both uneasy and intrigued. "My name is Adam," he said slowly, trying to communicate with her. He hoped she could understand him. "You're on an island. I found you after your ship crashed." She blinked, her eyes focused on him as if she were processing his words. Then, to Adam's surprise, she smiled faintly. It wasn't a warm smile, but more of a smile filled with relief. I am Lyra," she said, her voice still soft but stronger now. "Thank you for helping me." Adam sat back, still trying to wrap his mind around what was happening. An alien. This woman was from somewhere far beyond Earth. He didn't know what to think, but he knew one thing for sure. This was something out of a storybook. He had never imagined that his peaceful vacation would turn into a life-changing adventure. As the hours passed, Adam learned more about Lyra. She had been part of a group of explorers from another planet, sent to scout new worlds. But something had gone wrong. Their ship had been attacked, and in the chaos, Lyra had been separated from her crew. She had been left behind on Earth. Adam could tell that Lyra was still weak from the crash, but there was a fire in her eyes. She was determined to survive. As she spoke, Adam could feel her pain and confusion. She had no idea if her crew was still alive, or if they would come looking for her. One thing was clear, though. Lyra needed help. As night fell, Adam sat beside the fire he built. Lyra sat across from him, her eyes distant, as if lost in thought. Neither of them spoke for a while. The only sound was the crackling of the fire and the gentle waves lapping at the shore. Adam felt an uneasy tension in the air. He didn't know what was coming, but he knew that his life was about to change forever. The days passed slowly on the island, and Adam's life had taken an unexpected turn. What had started as a peaceful vacation had become something far more complicated. He couldn't stop thinking about Lyra, the alien woman he had found on the beach. Every time he looked at her, he was reminded that she was not from Earth. She was different, and yet, in many ways, she felt so much like him. Lyra spent her time resting and recovering from her crash injuries. Adam had built a shelter for them near the beach, where he gathered food and kept watch for any signs of danger. As the days went by, he began to notice something unusual. Lyra, though weak at first, was healing faster than any human could. Her wounds closed almost magically, and her energy levels seemed to rise with each passing day. One morning, as Adam was collecting fruits from the island's trees, he noticed that Lyra was up and walking around. She stood by the edge of the water, gazing out at the horizon. There was a deep sadness in her eyes, but also something else, a glimmer of strength, a quiet determination. Adam approached her cautiously. "How are you feeling?" he asked. Lyra turned to face him, a faint smile appearing on her face. "Better," she replied, her voice still soft but clearer now. "Thank you for helping me." Adam nodded, relieved to see her improving. "You're welcome. But you've got to teach me how to heal like you," he said with a grin. "You're getting better faster than I would have thought possible." Lyra's eyes sparkled with a hint of amusement. "My species heals faster than yours. We have advanced technology that aids in our recovery," she explained. "But there's more to it than just technology. My body is designed to adapt quickly to new environments." Adam was amazed. "That's incredible," he said, staring at her in wonder. "You've got abilities that are beyond anything I've ever seen. I mean, your ship alone was unlike anything I've ever known. How did you end up on Earth?" Lyra's expression grew more serious. She looked down at the sand beneath her feet, as if the question brought back painful memories. "I was part of an expedition from my planet. We were sent to explore new worlds, to find planets that could support life. But something went wrong. My ship was attacked. We were ambushed by enemies who had been tracking us. I was separated from my crew when the ship crashed. I don't know if any of them survived. I've been stranded here ever since." Adam listened closely, his heart going out to her. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. "I can't imagine how difficult that must be." Lyra met his gaze, her eyes intense. "You don't understand. You don't know the danger my people are in. If they find me, it won't just be me they come for. They'll destroy everything to get me back." Adam felt a chill run down his spine. "Who are they?" he asked, fear creeping into his voice. "The Zerath," Lyra replied, her voice cold and full of anger. "They are a ruthless and dangerous species. They will stop at nothing to capture me and use me for their own purposes." Adam's mind raced. He had no idea what a Zerath was, but from the look on Lyra's face, he could tell they were no ordinary enemies. Whatever they were coming, and he had to help Lyra. He couldn't let her face this alone. "So, what do we do now?" Adam asked, his voice steady but filled with uncertainty. Lyra thought for a moment before answering. "We need to prepare. The Zerath will be looking for me. They won't stop until they find me and bring me back. We need to hide, to make sure they don't track me down." Adam nodded. "I can help with that. I know this island well. I've been exploring it for days. There are caves and hidden spots they might not be able to find. Liara smiled, a small but grateful smile. I appreciate your help, Adam. But there's more to it than hiding. I can help you defend this island. I have skills you can't even imagine. But we need to work together. Adam raised an eyebrow. Skills like what? What can you do? Liara's eyes sparkled with a mysterious light. I can show you, she said, stepping back. She extended her hand, and Adam watched as her skin began to shimmer, a soft glow surrounding her body. For a moment, it was like she was glowing from within. Then, with a subtle motion, she lifted a large rock from the ground and suspended it in midair, effortlessly. Adam's eyes widened in shock. You can control objects?" he asked, his voice full of disbelief. Liara nodded. "Yes, I have telekinetic abilities. I can move objects with my mind, and I can use my energy to protect myself and others. But it's not just that. I also have knowledge of advanced technology that can help us fight back." Adam stood there, stunned. "That's amazing. But how do you know they won't have the same abilities?" Liara's expression grew serious. "They do. The Zerath are powerful, but they're not invincible. If we prepare ourselves, we have a chance. We can fight back." Adam felt a sense of determination building inside him. He had never imagined that his vacation would turn into a battle for survival, but now that he knew what was at stake, he couldn't back down. Liara had become more than just a stranger to him. She was someone he had to protect. "We'll fight," Adam said, his voice firm. "We'll do whatever it takes to keep this island safe." Liara gave him a long look, then nodded. "Together, we can survive." The two of them stood there for a moment, staring out at the ocean. The calm water hid the storm that was coming. But they were ready. They would face whatever came next. Together. The days on the island grew more tense as Adam and Liara worked together to prepare for what was coming. They knew the Zerath would not give up easily. Liara had explained that her enemies were ruthless and relentless. Their technology was far beyond anything Earth had seen, and their pursuit of her was driven by cold, unyielding purpose. Despite the danger looming, Adam refused to let fear control him. He had already decided he would protect Liara, no matter what. The two of them had spent hours each day building traps, reinforcing the shelter, and practicing defensive techniques. Liara's alien abilities made her a powerful ally, but Adam knew it would take more than just strength to survive. They needed to be smart. They needed to outwit their enemies. One afternoon, while Adam was out gathering food, he noticed Liara standing by the wreckage of her ship. Her face was tense, her eyes focused on something in the distance. He rushed to her side, concerned. "What's wrong?" Adam asked, his voice full of worry. Liara turned to him, her expression serious. "There's a signal. I just received a transmission from the wreckage. It's weak, but it's enough to confirm my worst fear." Adam's heart sank. "What do you mean?" "The Zerath are looking for me," Liara said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The signal I just received was a distress call sent by my crew. They're still out there, and they found my location." Adam felt a chill run through him. "How long do we have?" Liara shook her head. "I'm not sure, but the Zerath will be able to track the signal. It's only a matter of time before they arrive." Adam felt the weight of the situation pressing down on him. This wasn't just about surviving anymore. It was about defending the entire island, protecting everything he had grown to care about. He couldn't let the Zerath invade this place. He wouldn't let them destroy everything. "What can we do?" Adam asked, his voice determined. Liara thought for a moment, her mind working quickly. "We need to find a way to block the signal. If the Zerath can't track it, they won't be able to pinpoint our location. I can try to use my technology, but we'll need to move fast." Adam nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." Together, they moved quickly. Liara began scanning the wreckage of her ship, using her advanced equipment to analyze the signal and find a way to block it. Adam helped where he could, but most of the work was done by Lyra's alien technology. It was impressive to watch how quickly she could work, her fingers moving with precision as she adjusted the strange devices on her ship. After what felt like hours, Lyra finally stopped. "I've created a temporary block. It won't last long, but it should give us some time," she said, wiping sweat from her brow. "We need to move quickly." Adam felt a surge of hope. "That's great. How long do we have?" Lyra hesitated. "Maybe a day, 2 at most. After that, the Zerath will find us." Adam swallowed hard. "We need to make our stand then." The two of them set to work, gathering everything they could. Adam used his knowledge of the island to find hidden caves, places where they could trap their enemies and fight back. Lyra showed him how to use her technology to create weapons that would give them an advantage. They weren't sure if it would be enough, but they had no choice but to try. By nightfall, the island felt different. The usual calm was replaced by a tense quiet. Adam could feel the weight of the coming battle pressing on him. He knew that Lyra was counting on him. She was strong, but she wasn't invincible. Together, they had a chance, but only if they could outsmart the Zerath. As Adam sat by the fire, keeping watch, Lyra joined him. She looked out over the water, her face troubled. "I didn't want this," Lyra said quietly. "I didn't want to bring this danger to Earth. My people, my enemies, they are not kind. I didn't want to involve anyone else." Adam looked at her, his expression soft. "You didn't choose this, Lyra. You didn't ask for any of this. But you're not alone anymore. I'm here, and I won't let them hurt you." Lyra's gaze softened, and for the first time since Adam had met her, he saw a hint of vulnerability in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "I didn't know if I could trust anyone again. But you've proven me wrong." Adam smiled, though it was small. "We're in this together now. We're going to make sure no one takes you away from here." The next morning, Adam woke up early, his mind already racing with plans. He knew that the Zerath would be coming soon, and there was no time to waste. They had to be ready. They continued to work throughout the day, setting up the traps, preparing the weapons, and reinforcing their positions. Adam couldn't shake the feeling that time was running out, that the storm was coming, but he pushed the fear aside. Now was the time to act. As the sun began to set, casting a golden light over the island, Adam and Lyra stood together, ready. The signal had been blocked, but it wouldn't be long before the Zerath found their way to the island. Adam was ready to face them head-on, with everything he had. This wasn't just a fight for Lyra's life. It was a fight for the survival of everything Adam had come to care about. And he wasn't going to lose. The sun had barely risen over the horizon when Adam and Lyra heard it, a low, rumbling sound coming from the sky. At first, Adam thought it might have been a storm, but as the noise grew louder, he realized that it was something much worse. His heart skipped a beat. The Zerath had arrived. Lyra was already on her feet, her eyes wide with urgency. "They're here," she whispered, her voice sharp. "We don't have much time." Adam quickly grabbed his weapon, a device Lyra had helped him build. It wasn't much, just a small energy gun, but it was the best they could do with the limited resources on the island. He checked it one last time, making sure it was ready. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. They had planned for this moment, but nothing could prepare him for the fear of what was coming. The sky grew darker as the Zerath's ship descended, cutting through the clouds like a blade. It was a massive, menacing craft, shaped like a sleek, jagged spear. It hovered above the island, casting a shadow over everything below. The air seemed to vibrate with the force of its engines. Adam's pulse quickened. The Zerath were here, and they weren't going to leave without a fight. Lyra turned to Adam, her face serious. "We need to move fast," she said. "We can't let them find us. If they know where we are, they'll destroy everything." Adam nodded. "Let's go. We have a plan." We just have to stick to it." They ran for the nearest cave, a hidden spot Adam had discovered during his exploration of the island. It was deep and narrow, almost impossible to find unless you knew exactly where to look. Adam had already set up some basic traps around the entrance, just in case. They wouldn't be able to stay hidden forever, but it would give them a moment of safety. As they reached the cave, Liara stopped and looked back at the ship above them. "They've already landed," she said. "They'll be searching the island soon. We don't have much time." Adam took a deep breath. "Then we'll do what we can to slow them down." They entered the cave and began to set up their defenses. Liara worked quickly, using her technology to build small, hidden energy barriers around the entrance. Adam laid out the traps, making sure they were well hidden among the rocks and trees. He had no idea if they would work, but it was all they had. As they finished, Adam turned to Liara. "Are you ready?" Liara nodded, her face hard with determination. "Ready. But remember, the Zerath won't stop. They will search the entire island. We need to be prepared for anything." Adam felt a shiver run down his spine. The Zerath were relentless, and if they couldn't defeat them here, there would be nowhere else to hide. He glanced at the energy gun in his hand, and then at Liara. She was an alien, far more powerful than he could ever hope to be, but she was also vulnerable. He couldn't let anything happen to her. The moments that followed were filled with tense silence. They could hear the Zerath's footsteps growing closer. The heavy thud of boots against the earth echoed in the distance, and the occasional hiss of alien voices drifted through the air. They were searching, methodical in their pursuit. Adam's heart pounded in his chest. He had no idea what the Zerath looked like, but just hearing them was enough to send a chill through his body. They were terrifying. He could feel it in his bones. But he couldn't back down. Not now. He had to protect Liara. Then a loud explosion echoed in the distance, followed by the sound of rocks tumbling. The Zerath had triggered one of the traps. Adam and Liara exchanged a quick glance. "It's working," Liara whispered, a small hint of relief in her voice. But the explosion also meant that the Zerath knew someone was on the island. They wouldn't stop until they found them. "Let's move," Adam said, leading the way deeper into the cave. They needed to keep ahead of the enemy. If they stayed in one place for too long, the Zerath would find them. The cave was narrow, and they had to move carefully to avoid slipping on the rocks. The darkness inside seemed to close in on them, but Adam didn't care. His only focus was on keeping Liara safe. As they moved deeper into the cave, Adam heard a voice. It was faint at first, but it grew louder as they went further in. It was a voice that made Adam's blood run cold. "Liara." The voice was deep, distorted, and full of malice. "You can't hide from us. You can't escape." Adam froze. The Zerath had found them. He turned to Liara, his eyes wide with fear. "They know we're here." Liara's expression was hard as stone. "I know, but we're not going down without a fight." She stepped forward, raising her hand. The air around her shimmered, and a pulse of energy shot out, causing the rocks around them to vibrate. Adam watched in awe as Liara's powers took effect. The Zerath were closing in on them, but now they had a chance. Liara wasn't going to let them take her without a fight. Adam gripped his weapon tightly. "We won't let them take you," he said, his voice full of resolve. The cave filled with a strange tension. The Zerath were coming, but Adam and Liara weren't going to give up without a fight. This was the moment they had been preparing for. The battle for their lives had begun. The Zerath were close now. Adam could hear the crunch of their boots against the rocky ground. His heart raced. Every sound seemed louder, every moment more dangerous. The tension in the air was thick, and he knew there was no turning back. The battle had begun. Liara was beside him, her eyes glowing with determination. Her hand was raised, a faint shimmer of energy surrounding her body. Adam had never seen anything like it. She was more than just an alien. She was a warrior. And right now, she was his only hope. "We need to hold them off," Lyra said quietly, her voice steady. "If we can take down their leader, the rest will retreat. I can feel him. He's close." Adam nodded, gripping his weapon tightly. "Where is he?" "To the north," she replied, her eyes narrowing. "Near the old temple ruins. He's leading the search." Adam glanced in the direction she pointed. The temple ruins were hidden deep within the island, a place Adam had visited only once. He didn't know how many Zerath there were, but the thought of facing their leader made his stomach tighten. "Let's go then," Adam said. "We can't waste time." They moved quickly, keeping to the shadows as much as possible. Adam's thoughts raced. The Zerath weren't just hunting Lyra. They were hunting him too. He didn't know what they would do to him if they captured him, but he wasn't about to find out. He had to protect her. As they neared the temple, the sounds of the Zerath grew louder. They were searching in the area, their voices sharp and commanding. Lyra motioned for Adam to stop and crouch behind a large rock. She closed her eyes, listening carefully. "I can sense them," she whispered. "There are 2 guards near the entrance. But their leader, he's further in. I need you to distract them." Adam didn't hesitate. "I can do that." He knew this was their only chance to get close enough to the Zerath leader and take him down. He had no idea what he was up against, but the urgency in Lyra's voice pushed him forward. He slipped from his hiding spot and crept toward the entrance of the temple. The guards were just ahead, standing watch with weapons in hand. Adam held his breath, moving silently between the shadows. He was close now. Without warning, he threw a rock to the left, making a loud noise. The guards immediately turned in that direction, scanning the area. Adam seized the moment, sprinting past them and slipping into the temple ruins. The inside of the temple was dark and musty, the air thick with dust. Adam's eyes adjusted quickly to the dim light. He moved cautiously, careful not to make a sound. The Zerath leader was close now, Lyra's voice guiding him. "There's a room up ahead," Lyra whispered through their comlink. "He's in there." Adam nodded to himself, his heart pounding in his chest. He had no idea what the Zerath leader looked like, but he didn't need to. He had to stop him, no matter what. He reached the door to the room. It was ancient, covered in strange markings, but it looked sturdy. Adam pressed his ear against it, hearing the faint sound of footsteps on the other side. The leader was there, no doubt about it. This was it. He pulled the door open slowly, stepping inside with his weapon raised. What he saw made his breath catch in his throat. The Zerath leader stood tall and imposing, his skin a dark, metallic color that shimmered in the low light. He wore a set of armor, sleek and form-fitting, with a helmet that covered his face completely. He stood before a large control panel, his attention focused on the data being displayed. Lyra had been right. This was their moment. Adam's heart raced as he stepped forward. "It's over," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. The Zerath leader turned slowly, his head tilting in curiosity. "You think you can stop me?" His voice was cold, with an alien growl that sent shivers down Adam's spine. "You're just a human. You have no idea what you're facing." Adam didn't hesitate. He aimed his weapon at the leader and fired. A beam of energy shot out, striking the Zerath leader in the chest. The impact sent him stumbling back, but he quickly regained his balance, his armor glowing with energy. "You are brave," the leader said, his voice filled with admiration. "But it won't be enough." Before Adam could react, the leader raised his hand, and a wave of energy shot out toward him. Adam barely had time to dodge, diving to the side as the blast hit the wall behind him, sending debris flying. Adam scrambled to his feet, his weapon still in hand. "I'm not giving up," he said through gritted teeth. Lyra's voice came through his earpiece, calm but urgent. "Adam, I'm coming. Hold on." The Zerath leader snarled, advancing on Adam. "You'll never stop me," he growled. "The Zerath are unstoppable." Adam backed up, trying to keep his distance. The leader was powerful, and Adam knew that he was outmatched. But he wasn't alone. Liara was on her way. As the Zerath leader raised his hand again to strike, a flash of light appeared in the doorway. Liara stood there, her body glowing with energy, her eyes locked on their enemy. "I'm not done yet," Liara said, her voice fierce. With a swift motion, she raised both hands and released a pulse of energy so powerful that the walls of the temple shook. The Zerath leader staggered back, his helmet crackling with static. Adam took advantage of the moment and fired his weapon again. This time, the Zerath leader didn't recover as easily. He fell to the ground with a heavy thud, his body smoking. Liara stepped forward, her eyes glowing brighter. "We're not finished," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "But we've taken the first step." Adam exhaled in relief. They had done it. The Zerath leader was down. But this was only the beginning. They still had to survive the rest of the Zerath forces. And they would fight, together. The Zerath leader was down, but Adam knew the battle was far from over. He wiped the sweat from his forehead, trying to steady his breathing. The room was still shaking from the blast Liara had unleashed, but the victory felt fragile. He could hear the distant sound of Zerath soldiers outside, searching, closing in on their location. Liara stepped forward, her eyes glowing brightly in the darkened room. "We need to move," she said firmly. "The others will be looking for us. If we stay here, we're sitting targets." Adam nodded, already thinking about their next move. He was grateful for Liara's strength. But now, more than ever, he realized that they needed more than just their will to survive. They needed a plan. "We can't keep running," Adam said, glancing at the fallen leader's body. "We need to take out the rest of their forces. If we do that, they won't have the power to track us down anymore." Liara thought for a moment, then nodded. "You're right. But we need to be smart about this. We can't afford to make mistakes." They moved quickly, leaving the temple ruins and heading into the thick jungle. The island felt different now, still beautiful, but with an underlying tension that made everything seem dangerous. Every rustling leaf or snapping twig sent Adam's heart racing. The Zerath were still out there, and they were getting closer. As they made their way through the jungle, Adam could feel Liara's focus sharpen. She was already planning their next steps, her mind calculating every move. He trusted her completely, but the weight of the situation was pressing on him. This wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about protecting Liara and stopping the Zerath before they could do any more damage. "We need to find a place to hide," Liara said, her voice steady but urgent. "They'll be sending out search parties. If we stay out in the open, we'll be easy targets." Adam glanced around. They were deep in the jungle now, surrounded by towering trees and thick underbrush. The air was humid, heavy with the scent of earth and plants. He spotted a small cave in the distance, partially hidden behind a large rock. "Over there," he pointed. They quickly made their way to the cave, slipping inside just as the sound of footsteps grew louder. The Zerath soldiers were close, but they had no idea where Adam and Liara were. They crouched low, breathing quietly, listening as the soldiers passed by the entrance. Adam's pulse was racing, but he remained still, trusting that Liara's senses would guide them. She had been right so far. She knew the Zerath better than anyone. Once the soldiers had passed, Adam exhaled. "We can't keep hiding forever," he said softly. "We need to strike back." Liara nodded. "I have an idea." She pulled out a small device from her bag, a strange, glowing orb. Adam had seen it before, but he didn't know exactly what it did. Liara held it in her hands, her fingers moving with precision as she activated the device. "I can use this to disrupt their communications," Liara explained. "It will block their signals and confuse their systems. They won't be able to coordinate their search, and we'll have the upper hand." Adam's eyes widened. How long will it last? Long enough for us to take action, Lyra replied. But we need to move quickly. Once they realize what's happening, they'll find a way to fix it. Adam's mind raced. This was their chance. If they could disrupt the Zerath's communications, they could divide their forces, making them easier to defeat. It was risky, but they didn't have any other options. Let's do it, Adam said, his voice firm. They slipped out of the cave and moved toward the Zerath's camp, keeping to the shadows. Lyra's device hummed softly in her hands as they approached the enemy's base. It was a makeshift camp, surrounded by tents and guarded by a few soldiers. The Zerath had clearly set up shop on the island, preparing for a long search. Adam felt the familiar sense of dread in his chest, but he pushed it aside. They had to do this, for Lyra, for Earth. They reached the center of the camp, where the communications equipment was set up. Lyra's device glowed brighter as she carefully placed it near the equipment. She spoke a few words in her native language, and the device emitted a low, humming sound. The glow intensified, and suddenly, all the lights around them flickered. Now, Lyra hissed. Adam sprang into action. He grabbed a nearby energy rifle and aimed it at the nearest soldier, taking him down in one quick shot. The other soldiers, confused by the sudden loss of communication, began to shout and scramble. They were disorganized. Exactly what Adam and Lyra needed. Lyra unleashed a wave of energy, knocking two more soldiers off their feet. Her power was incredible, a force of nature that Adam could hardly believe. But she wasn't invincible. Adam knew that she couldn't keep up this pace for long. We need to finish this, Adam said, his voice urgent. They moved quickly, disabling the Zerath soldiers one by one, their attacks swift and precise. The confusion caused by the disruption gave them an edge, but Adam could hear the soldiers regrouping. It wouldn't be long before they started fighting back. Lyra turned to Adam, her expression serious. We've taken out the first wave, but we're not done yet. We need to find their main base and destroy their command center. Adam nodded. Let's go. They ran deeper into the camp, determined to stop the Zerath once and for all. They were in this together, and they weren't going to let anyone take Lyra from this island. The final battle was upon them, and this time they were ready. The island was silent for a moment. The sounds of the Zerath soldiers had faded, replaced by the heavy breathing of Adam and Lyra. They had reached the heart of the enemy camp, where the main command center stood, a towering structure made of metal and alien technology. It was well guarded, but after the chaos they had caused, the soldiers were disorganized. Adam could feel the weight of the mission on his shoulders. This was it, the final step. Destroying the Zerath command center would cripple their operations on the island and give Earth a fighting chance. He glanced at Lyra. Her face was set with determination, her eyes glowing softly in the dark. You ready for this? Adam asked. Lyra nodded. We've come this far. There's no turning back now. They crept closer to the command center, staying low and using the shadows to their advantage. The Zerath had sent most of their forces to hunt them down, but a few guards remained near the entrance, still unaware of the threat that was closing in on them. Adam took a deep breath and motioned for Lyra to follow. They moved swiftly, taking out the guards one by one without a sound. It was a delicate balance of stealth and speed. They couldn't afford to alert the rest of the camp. Every move had to be perfect. Once they reached the entrance of the command center, Lyra pulled out a small device, a key she had crafted from the alien technology she had studied. She inserted it into the control panel by the door, and the entrance hissed open. They slipped inside, finding themselves in a large, dimly lit room filled with screens and alien equipment. At the far end of the room, a large holographic map showed their location on the island, along with the positions of every Zerath soldier. Adam's heart raced as he realized how much the enemy had already prepared. Lyra stepped forward, scanning the room. This is it. If we destroy the main reactor, it will take down their entire operation here. Adam looked at her, unsure of the exact details, but trusting her judgment completely. How do we destroy it? Lara pointed to a large central device, a glowing core at the center of the room. It pulsed with energy, and Adam could feel the power radiating from it. That's their reactor. If I overload it, it will self-destruct. But we need to move quickly. Before Adam could respond, the doors to the command center slammed shut. He spun around, eyes wide with panic. They were trapped. A voice echoed through the room, cold and menacing. You think you can stop us? You've made a mistake. The Zerath leader stood in the doorway, his armor gleaming in the dim light. His helmet glowed, and his eyes fixed on Lyra. Despite his defeat earlier, he had survived. And now he was more determined than ever. You should have stayed hidden, human, the leader said, his voice deep and harsh. This is our island now. Adam's pulse quickened. The fight wasn't over. He was face to face with the Zerath leader once again. We won't let you take this island, Lyra said, her voice full of defiance. She stepped forward, her hands glowing with energy, ready to fight. The Zerath leader laughed. You think your power will stop me? I am invincible. Before Adam could move, the leader raised his hand, and a blast of energy shot toward Lyra. She barely had time to raise a shield, the force of the attack sending her stumbling back. Adam rushed to her side, firing his weapon at the Zerath leader. The blast hit the leader's armor, but it barely slowed him down. He swung his hand again, sending another wave of energy toward them. Adam grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her out of the way just in time. We can't fight him like this, Adam said, his voice tense. We have to destroy the reactor. Lyra nodded, her eyes focused on the glowing core. I'll handle the leader. You go. Hurry. Adam hesitated but knew there was no other choice. He dashed toward the reactor, hoping that Lyra could hold the leader off long enough. As he reached the core, he activated the device she had given him. The countdown began. Get ready, Adam shouted, his heart racing. Lyra stepped between Adam and the leader, raising her hands high. A wave of energy pulsed from her, colliding with the Zerath leader's blast. The two forces clashed, filling the room with light and sound. Adam didn't look back. He focused all his attention on the reactor, his hands trembling as he worked to trigger the overload. The countdown reached 10 seconds. Lyra, Adam shouted. With a final, powerful blast, the Zerath leader was knocked back, his body slamming into the wall. Lyra's energy flickered, but she was still standing. The reactor exploded. The force of the explosion rocked the entire building. Adam was thrown to the ground, his ears ringing from the blast. Dust and debris filled the air, but he managed to push himself up, scanning the room for Lyra. He found her, her body glowing faintly but still standing. We did it, Adam said, his voice hoarse. Lyra smiled, despite the exhaustion in her eyes. It's over. The command center was in ruins, and the remaining Zerath forces would be scattered. The island was safe, for now. Adam and Lyra had done the impossible. They had stopped an alien invasion, and together, they had survived. But their journey wasn't over. They still had a world to save. Adam reached out, offering his hand. Let's get off this island. Lyra took his hand, and together, they walked out into the light of the rising sun. The future was uncertain, but as long as they were together, there was hope.